Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, joined for a late night podcast session by your friend of mine. He returns this week, Doomital Crossing. What's up, Doom? How are you?
Fantastic, Andy. By the time this episode releases, we will be exactly 1 week away from the Nintendo Switch 2. I guess technically not the reveal anymore. We know it exists now, but like, it's the one we've been waiting for. It's the big bang.
Yeah.
The full thing, and usually I like to kind of tee this off with what we've been up to, what we've been doing. But like, I'll be honest, this Switch 2 Direct has pretty much been occupying my mind rent free for the past week or so. We're finally here. It feels unreal. I remember how devastated we were when we were expecting it to happen about around this time last year, only for all those rumors to break out that actually the Switch 2 would be coming in 2025. But we're alive, we're here, and it's, the light is at the end of the tunnel. It is time for a new era of Nintendo, which is, honestly, it's the first time this has happened in this podcast. Because this was created by
the Zelda cast too.
Yeah, because these podcasts were created well into the Switch's life cycle. So we're in unprecedented territory, and it feels great.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that actually. Like the Zelda cast launched in 2018, which was about it launched about 18 months after the Switch came out. So this will be really the first big new console generation that we see, at least in my tenure hosting some podcasts here. So I'm very, very excited. Man, I've been replaying Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is just an absolutely incredible game, by the way. I know that like it's easy to make fun of Fire Emblem and whatnot, but like this series is just so unbelievably good. But anyway, so I've been replaying Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I just need a new Switch in like the worst possible way, like the worst way. My Joy-Cons they're drifting up and down now, like both directions, which was not. They're even worse than they were at the Omega Metroid Marathon. The battery on the Switch lasts for like, I don't know, maybe like if it's 2 hours, that's impressive. I need a new Switch so badly, so I'm very excited in terms of like the games I'll be like playing, but also just excited to have something better than what I'm currently gaming on right now, because it is not the best, let's just say.
Yeah, most definitely. If I use the Joy-Cons more, I would probably be in Tokyo Drift hell myself. But yeah, my Pro Controllers, plural, are still kicking. Thankfully, hopefully those will be compatible with the Switch 2. I have to imagine they will be. Yeah. But yeah, that'd be really unfortunate if not. I have the limited edition Smash controller as well, which looks really nice here.
There you go.
So yeah.
Well, let's not beat around the bush here. Let's get into it. We asked you for some predictions. We asked you for some questions. We asked you for some theories, and we're going to give our own theories and predictions about what we expect to see from this Direct. And we got a lot of ground to cover here. We're going to talk about some predictions that you and I have in terms of the console, in terms of the games itself that we'll see. I do got to say one thing though, because I saw this again today, and again I'm just like, and this kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today. But like, I think that Metroid fans can sometimes be a little fragile, a little afraid of success. And I saw another video today where it's like, does the Metroid Prime 4 would be better off skipping the Switch 2 or whatever, or it doesn't need the Switch 2. And you know what? That's nonsense. That's nonsense. It just is. I'm sorry, but like any argument for that is based on a fear of Metroid Prime 4 won't be successful, so let's just give it a baked-in reason so we can fall back and have an excuse as to why the game didn't do better. That's it. That's the reason.
You absolutely nailed it on the head. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Metroid fans are afraid of success. They're afraid that the series will get big. They're afraid it'll get away from them. And I saw that video and I was just like, come on. Like, you know, and I know, and Doom knows, and Zora the cat back there messing things up knows, Metroid Prime 4 should be on the Switch 2. To give it the best chance to succeed, it needs to be on the Switch 2. And I don't care if it's the same game that it is, if it releases on the Switch 1. Perception matters. Nobody that is not going to be buying this game already, okay? Because, like, obviously, yes, there's lots of people that are going to be buying Metroid Prime 4, no matter what console it comes out on. But nobody that wasn't planning on buying this already is going to pick up a Switch 2. They're going to pick up their new Mario Kart, and they're going to be like, you know what else I need? I need a Switch game. The Switch game that just came out. That's not going to happen. This game needs to be on Switch 2. I don't care what anybody says. That'd be just a colossal mistake if it wasn't. And again, it's just like, let's not be afraid. Let's not be afraid. Let's just embrace the chance that we have for success. And if it fails, it fails. Whatever. But at least we can say that we gave it the best chance to succeed.
And I think, and so I think you brought up a good point there, actually, because I think that's another reason why a lot of people are, in your words, you know, scared of success, because, you know, typically when a Metroid game doesn't do well, you know, we have some fairly reasonable fallback options on why it failed. Like, oh, you know what, Echo's released within, you know, a couple weeks of, you know, some of the most well-revered games of all time in a
Not
place
a real
where,
excuse, by the way.
Yeah.
For Echoes.
I
don't buy that.
I partially disagree, but typically there's some fairly good reasons why.
Yeah.
If in a scenario where you did throw the kitchen sink at Metroid Prime 4 and it still didn't, you know, fail, like let's say, you know, it gets outstanding reviews. It launches on the Switch and the Switch 2, so you're covering that entire install base. Nintendo, you know, puts their full marketing force into it, and it still doesn't meet sales expectations. You know, I think some fans are worried that, you know, after throwing the entire kitchen sink at it, if the game still doesn't do well, then the series is truly dead at that point. Whereas, you know, Metroid, we've had dry spouts, but Metroid games have never truly died. You know, they've always come back, and I think a lot of fans are worried because there's this perception that Prime 4 is make or break, and if even the tiniest thing goes wrong,
and it
can spell doom and gloom. But yeah, exactly. I don't buy that. I think that's an absolute fantasy. I mean, you know, Metroid's about to celebrate its 40th anniversary. Is it one of the biggest gaming franchises ever? No. Is it ever going to be? Probably never. But that's okay. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be.
You know what? I was just talking about Fire Emblem. That's a series that, like, it has its peak, right? Like,
that sells reasonably compared to Metroid. They you know, right. Both series are sell in the same ballpark. You know, Xenoblade, that's been a phenomenally successful series. That also sells within the same ballpark. Mm-hmm. Chronicles X just released a couple days ago, the definitive edition. And I
just saw that and I was just like, come on, like we gotta dream big here. Like we can't just, you know what I mean? It's like when Bruce Wayne is trying to escape the prison in The Dark Knight Rises, and like he has to make the jump without the rope or whatever. You just gotta jump sometimes, you know? Like you gotta jump, and like guess what? If Metroid Prime 4, if Bruce in this scenario falls, that doesn't mean they're gonna quit making Metroid games. Maybe it just means like, okay, well, what's worse is gonna happen? There's another,
so we can learn how to pick ourselves back up.
Yes. Like, what are they gonna do? Not make a Metroid game for 8 years? Like, okay,
yeah, exactly. It's like, all right,
been there.
Sorry, we've been here before.
Been there twice.
But and on top of that, like, you know, there are so many examples of like series that were even more niche than Metroid at a time. That, you know, they just weren't there at the right place at the right time, but they finally found their footing, and now they're fairly big. You know, Persona is a good example where it's like, you know, who the hell knew what Persona was, you know, back, you know, a decade ago. Now it's like, you know, one of the first turn-based RPGs you probably think of, like when you think of JRPGs. You know, Yakuza was a fairly niche series, and, you know, that has grown fairly massively. Monster Hunter, Monster Hunter Wild just came out. It just got 10 million copies.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a time
even
where
like Fire Emblem, like it took until 2013 to make one that actually sold. Like there's so many examples of that. So it's like, you guys, come on, just don't listen. If you're afraid of Metroid Prime 4 failing, that's okay. I'm nervous as well. I want it to sell a bunch of copies, and I hope it does. But I think in order for it to do that, like it's got to be positioned in the best possible way. And you can never, ever, ever convince me that just releasing it for Switch 1 is the best possible way. Never.
At the end of the day, I don't even bother having this arguments, because at the end of the day, Nintendo's going to do what they're going to do. They don't care what we're bickering about online. Either they're going to do it or they're not. And so if they do it, which I think you and I are both in agreement, it's pretty much a lock at this point, they're going to do it. And if not, then they're not, and we can talk about it then. But
and we'll talk about what a mistake it was.
Yes,
a colossal mistake in order to do that. But I saw that video, and it was from a friend of ours, and me and Joe, we've had a bunch of different arguments about this topic, and we'll probably have more in the future. But like, he's not the only one that thinks that, right? Like, there are people that are members of the Omega Metroid team that think that, and it's just like, listen. Think whatever you want, right? Like your opinion is completely valid. But I'm telling you, don't be afraid of success. Metroid will still be Metroid if this game comes out and sells 10 million copies. You know what I mean? And that will probably never happen. But like, just don't be afraid. Like, we don't need the baked in excuses. We just, it's sink or swim. And I think that this game will swim. I really do. So I had to get that out of the way at the beginning. Because it does tie into some of some of the things that we're going to talk about here today, and I just saw it like a couple hours ago, and I was just like, what I did. So, all right. Well, we got a lot to get into here, Doom, and by God, it's Omega Metroid After Dark here. So we better get started here. We have some predictions for what we are going to see in this direct. I compiled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 predictions in terms of things we'll see for the console, things we'll see for the games. Some of them are pretty like basic ones, I think, but I've got a bunch of stuff here. I don't know what you got. We've got some fan submissions. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go.
I was gonna say, you and me both. I also have 16. I just counted. So
woo! There you go.
So we are in sync today.
We are rocking. We're ready. Okay. Well, let's start off with the console predictions.
Yeah. That's how I ordered it. I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I ordered it hardware first, then console features, and then first party, and then third party software.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. So my first prediction here is I think the console will launch in the fall. Specifically September, I think. Maybe October, but something's telling me September.
Well, that would be incredible. I'm certainly not opposed to September. That would be one hell of a birthday present, if you ask me. So
I was thinking November. Like that makes traditional sense, right? Like to launch it in November. But I wonder if they just want like a leg up on that holiday season. I don't know. Something's telling me it's going to be a little bit earlier than we think.
I think I'm one of those people. So for my first prediction, I'm predicting that the Switch 2 is launching at an estimated retail price of $399 and 99 cents and releasing near the end of June.
Near the end of June. That's even better, actually. I
like
that. I do wonder if that timeline is just like a bit tight.
I was second guessing, like, would it be like maybe July? I don't know, but I was like, no, I'm gonna commit to June. I'm going to commit to June.
And you know what?
This.
Like, I don't think that's impossible. Like, I don't think that's impossible at all. It does seem tight, but I think they could do it, right? Like,
it's because it's unprecedented, because I don't believe Nintendo has released hardware in June before. But I was looking at it, and there was a 2-month turnaround from the January 2017 Switch presentation and the March 3rd release date.
That is
and
true.
But that would be roughly actually a little bit more time if it released it near the end of June than it would be from that direct. So I actually think June is definitely within the realm of possibility. Though I could also absolutely see it releasing in the holiday season too.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That was. I do feel like we knew a little bit more about the console at that point, but I guess it's like the Switch too. Like, what's there to know? It's basically the same console.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Two Switch, two Furious.
I mean, pretty much. And speaking of, like, I mean, like, yes, you. I guess they haven't officially announced Mario Kart yet, but I mean, like, that's obviously there.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say, like, we knew Breath of the Wild was coming out with the Switch, but yeah, I could see that though. I'm gonna play it a little bit safer. I'm gonna go September. I'm right with you. My next prediction was $3.99.
Okay, yeah, $3.99 just it feels right in my soul, you know.
I think so too. Yeah, that seems like a Nintendo price. It's still lower than all of its competitors. A step up from the Switch though. I think that's what it's gonna be.
Yeah, I'm thinking $3.99, and then I didn't put this in my predictions either, but I think we'll see the all the base Switch 1 models. I think we'll see them get like a $50 or $100 price cut somewhere near the holiday season, just to get all that extra stock out of the stores and make some new shelf space for that shiny Switch 2.
You know what? I could see that too. Actually, I didn't put that down either on my list, but you're probably not wrong. Okay. I'm a little bit less sure about this one, but I thought that I was going to make this prediction anyways. And I'm going to qualify my prediction here. I think that there's going to be at least one other model of the Switch 2 available on day one. And let me clarify what I mean. I don't mean model as in like a Switch Pro or like an OLED or whatever, but like I think that there's going to be, like, for example, like a Mario Kart edition, or like maybe like a light edition, like it's only the portable console. Like, I think there's going to be some other form of Switch available day one.
I don't think I agree with that. I don't think it's impossible, but I feel like, and granted, I could be wrong, but I feel like Nintendo will want to keep this as simple as possible for the consumer. I don't think they're going to want to have multiple SKUs right out of the gate.
Again, not like SKUs like the PS3 or like the Xbox Series X or whatever, but like I could see like a limited edition Mario Kart or whatever.
Like a Mario Kart limited edition console, or like maybe like a lighter Switch 2 package, like a core package. Not like a Switch 2 Lite that you can't plug into the TV. Is what I'm getting at, but like, something that
I could see. I mean, listen, I wouldn't put my Samus's percentage like super high, I guess, which I guess is like a bad thing to predict then. But I don't know. I think I could see something like that.
So I could be wrong. I don't believe Nintendo has had a limited edition console available at launch.
I don't think they ever have. No.
Yeah, I was about to say you, but if someone in the comments is listening to us right now and you have an example that states otherwise, please by all means post it, because I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So I can't see them doing a Mario Kart limited edition console, or a Metroid one for that matter. Which is because unfortunate. I would happily buy both of those. That would be awesome. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I don't see that happening. And then I also don't see like a Switch 2 Lite or a Switch 2 OLED or some other Switch 2 variant at launch. One, because like I said, Nintendo probably wants to keep it simple, which is their whole theme for the Switch 2. Make it as simple and obvious to, the least terminally online consumer possible. Keep it as simple as possible. And then two, when you release new variants down the line, that's potential for people that are already in the ecosystem to double or triple dip. You had, so many of the people that bought, Switch OLEDs already owned a Switch previously, or people that bought a Switch Lite, they bought it for, someone in their family, or, for their kids, so that they could play it in the house, while they could still play their main Switch. And so I feel like that's a strategy that Nintendo is going to want to keep, considering how successful it was for the Switch 1. So we're absolutely going to get Switch 2 variants eventually. I don't think any of them are going to happen at launch, though.
We'll see. Okay, what you got?
All right, for my next prediction, this is another pretty obvious one. We're gonna find out what that ever elusive C button is going to do. It's probably gonna be very mundane and underwhelming, but we're gonna find out. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, that sure. I didn't even think of it to be honest with you, but I mean I'm sure we probably will. I mean I feel like it's just another button. Like that's probably just the answer. You could use it for like whatever. So yeah, I think that one's good.
Well, the way it's positioned on the controller, it feels like it's going to be like a system button, not like another button on the controller where it interacts with the game. At least it feels like it's going to be something that interacts with like the Switch 2 firmware, some sort of feature on it. So who knows what that's going to be? There's been a lot of predictions on that already. I can't really think of what it would be that's within reason. So I'm just going to let Nintendo do that.
Those are really my only predictions for like the console. I did have one about NSO. Well, two about NSO, but one of them is more a game prediction. So maybe I'll do this one and you can kind of bring us up to speed with your console ones there. That being said though, I do not think that we're going to have any new features introduced on NSO for the Switch 2, like revealed in this Direct, that we don't already know about. So, like, I don't think we're going to have GameCube games. I don't think we're going to have, I don't know, DS games. I think it's going to be basically, like, they're going to say, like, your NSO is going to be able to port over. All the games are going to remain the same. I do think that there might be a game or two announced for, like, a Game Boy Advance, specifically. But I don't think there's going to be anything, like brand new. If there was, I still don't think it would be GameCube. I think it would be something Sega or something along those lines. But I don't think is going to happen either. Not here, anyways.
All right, I'll go over my last console prediction in a bit, but I'll address that first because I also did have something related to that in my predictions as well. So I'll cover that right now. Yeah. So I actually do predict that Nintendo DS games are going to be added to NSO expansion exclusively on Switch 2. And I think the touch controls are going to be handled by the mouse cons. And that's how we're going to be able to get that functionality on the Switch 2. Because the way I think, the way I'm thinking about this going is that I think part of that Direct is Nintendo is going to address, how your previous library is going to be playable on Switch 2, whether that's your physical games, your digital games, your NSO subscription. And I feel, and again, I could be wrong. They might not need another incentive, but I feel like on top of that, they might want to like throw in one last incentive in there. Like, hey, all your stuff is going to carry over. But also, here's something new. If you are one of those people that's jumping onto Switch 2 for the first time. It's also something that I could see them do like a year or two down the line as well. I want to make it fun, so I'm going to predict it anyways.
I mean, I hope that happens because I think that would be awesome, and I think there's some merit to like the DS games using the mouse, like controller or Joy-Con or whatever. I have a few problems with that though, which is why I predicted that it wouldn't happen. Number one, I need to see how that mouse controller is going to work before I can go and predict it. And then number two, I think it's more likely that they would just like up the subscription price instead of it being like exclusive to Switch 2. Just because like right now how you have to have like the expansion pass. Maybe you need like the Game Shark pass. I don't know to like have DS games like all the other stuff. It's almost like Patreon. Like you could subscribe to whatever tier you want to. I like you say it though, and I don't think that again is like impossible. To be honest, I'm sure that most of the stuff that we predict here, I'm not going to say I find like absolutely impossible. I could see that one, but I'm going to be maybe I'll be a little bit cautious now. I don't know if if this is the right Direct for that.
I think that's fair to be cautious on it for sure. Like I could definitely, because I do also think, and I'll talk about this with a specific prediction later. I do think we're also going to get a June Direct this year. And I think this primary Direct is just going to be kind of talking about the launch lineup, maybe some stuff happening the following month. And then June is going to dictate, the holiday season in early 2025 or early 2026, excuse me.
That I actually disagree with. I think we're going to see like a lot throughout the year. Yeah. Well, because I mean, like this is your chance to really sell the Switch too. Like not just the release, but like sell the future of it. but we'll get into that when we talk about games.
Well, just because both would assumedly be in very close proximity to each other is what I'm saying, and so I think you'll have enough software covered, in this first to cover like what is the launch going to look up, what is the early Switch 2 going to look like, and then by the time June rolls around, the Switch 2 is just going to be coming out, if at least if my prediction is right, possibly comes out even later than that, and then you start going like, okay, you got the Switch 2 in your hands. Now here's what you can expect later down the line, and we'll get into all that later, because I definitely got some thoughts on that. But I could also definitely agree that maybe that NSO thing is more appropriate for a June direct, or even like a September direct later than that even.
Something like that tells me
But like I said, I'm still gonna predict it because I think it's a fun prediction. So I'm just sticking with it.
Well, it is fun, and I mean I hope it comes true. Like, I will say that.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, is it my turn? No. You go ahead with some of your console ones there. Let's finish those off.
All right. Well, I just had one more, and this is this is more of a silly prediction, but I do actually think that this is going to happen. I think Nintendo will highlight something vague about the Joy-Cons, indicating that they've been improved without actually mentioning Joy-Con drift.
I think that's safe to say. Yeah. Clearly, they're specifically, of course, not going to mention Joy-Con drift, but I think it's only natural that they say, like, these are the new and improved Joy-Cons. They have their new magnetic grips. They stay locked in position. Like.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about the Joy-Con. I'm talking about the joystick specifically.
I know what you're talking about.
Like, yeah.
I mean, they're locked in position, as in that pad. That joystick is locked in position. I think that they could say that, and I would have again kind of expected that, just to. And I'm sure they'll probably do that, like with the console. Like, they'll go over the specs and say, like, oh, this is better, this is better, this is better. That makes sense to me. But yes, they will not address Joy-Con drift.
Mm-hmm. Actually, one other quick thing I'll mention. This isn't on my prediction list. This is kind of, if anything, like an anti-prediction, if you will. But like, I've seen a lot of people talking about like speculating that like Nintendo is going to talk about the specs of the console, and my thoughts is like, what are you, insane? No, absolutely not. They're never going to do that.
Nintendo, I don't think so.
Nintendo. That's like that. That's not the audience for that. Like if you're someone who really cares about all of that, like, there'll be plenty of channels that are going to break it down once they have the hardware in their hands. Once they break it open, they'll be able to tell you all about that. Yeah. That's not Nintendo's MO. It never has been. It's not going to be that anytime soon. I would, at most, and I guess we can actually segue into my next actual prediction, but at most, you would see like a comparison between like what a Switch 1 game looks like running on the Switch versus what it looks like running on the Switch 2. And that actually segues into my next prediction. Select Switch 1 titles will receive Switch 2 enhancements, with more enhancements being drip-fed throughout the Switch 2's life. Breath of the Wild, Xenoblade X, and Super Mario Bros. Wonder will receive enhancements at launch.
I don't know. I'm not sure about that. Nintendo just doesn't strike me as the enhancement type. Like, if it was a free enhancement, I'd say that's a better chance than like a paid enhancement. But if it was a free enhancement, I just feel like, why would they do that? So I don't.
It'll be a paid enhancement. It'll 100% be a paid enhancement.
I just don't. I don't see it. It makes sense.
Really?
Yeah, like it makes sense to do. I guess I just don't. Yeah, I don't see it. Like, let's kind of dial back a little bit. Like, 2027 is 2 years away. That's going to be the 10-year anniversary of Breath of the Wild. And I could see them just re-releasing that game, DLC included, all the enhancements there, selling it for full price in 2027. And I think I have a prediction that's sort of kind of along these lines too. Like, I think that there will be some Switch ports, but I think they're going to sell them as new games. I don't know. I guess I don't see it. Like what are they enhancing,
So So I mean, there would be visual enhancements. Assumedly, there's you could do stuff with the mouse cons. Maybe that C button has something. I don't know. But like the way I'm going about this is like, yeah, Nintendo. As of right now, there isn't really a precedent established for like downloading a patch to a playable game on another console for Nintendo. That's like more something that like it's a fairly new thing that's happened recently with like the PS5 and the Series X. That's not really a thing that we've had prior to this. So it's a fairly new precedent in general, not just like even outside of the Nintendo realm, all things considered. But I don't know if Nintendo, because like the thing with the Switch, the reason why they were able to get away with like these full price Wii U ports is because you could not play those Wii U games or even those 3DS games on the Switch. For all intents and purposes, they're not literally brand new games, but like you couldn't play them on there before. Whereas with the
also
Switch
nobody
2,
played them because nobody bought the Wii U.
That again the 3DS though, but yes, you're right there. But yeah, whereas the Switch 2, most of those titles are still going to be playable on Switch, and they're still going to run and look great for the most part. A lot of those titles visually still hold up very well, I think. But yeah, at the same time, Nintendo doesn't want you to just play Super Mario Wonder for free. No, they want to get a little bit more out you. Get some of those Switch 2 enhancements. Are they worth it? That's up for you to decide. Maybe you can't tell the difference. I don't know.
You know what I think actually is more likely. I think that if anything, if they do decide to go that route, I think it's included in NSO. Similar to how like if you subscribe, like you could get DLC for like Splatoon or whatever, or Animal Crossing. That makes more sense. I just can't see it. I can't see that happening.
The thing with that is like, I would agree if they kept doing the DLC, but weirdly they did it. They added Mario Kart to the expansion pass, then they did Animal Crossing, and then they went back and did Splatoon 2 Octo expansion before Splatoon 3 came out. And then they just stopped after that. And they have, to this day, not added a single other DLC, new, old, or otherwise, to that, which is bizarre because they were like really highlighting it as this feature, and it sounded like that was going to become one of the big selling points of this. Is like, hey, like you're going to be able to play all this DLC for free as long as you have this subscription, but that isn't really the case. And likewise, I can't really see them doing that for like Switch 2 upgrades. And that would also just be weird in general. Like, if you're subscribed to NSO, you can play the Switch 2 upgrade, but like it would be bizarre if that was the only way, I guess, to experience the Switch 2 upgrade is by being subscribed to NSO. You know what I mean?
I do. I'm not sold that there's going to be an upgrade at all. Like I'm really not.
I think there will be. I think it's going to be a lot pricier than what even PlayStation, because usually the Xbox upgrades are free. PlayStation usually charges $10. I think Nintendo, the floor is at $20, and it has a very, very high ceiling for those upgrades. But I don't know. Nintendo loves to find ways to resell us old games. I don't think they could quite get away with doing a new SKU if most of the software is already going to be playable. I feel like a digital upgrade just kind of makes sense. But then again, this is Nintendo, the king of not making sense. So like, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. I have a hard time seeing that based on Nintendo's history. But I mean, who knows, right? Like, okay. So are we ready to talk about games, or should we wrap up anything console, NSO, that kind of stuff?
That pretty much wraps up the hardware, the NSO side on my end. I'm ready to get into software if you are.
I'm ready to get into software. And I kind of have two predictions in one here. The first prediction is going to be a pretty but the second one, I think we'll spice it up a little bit here. Mario Kart 9 is going to be the launch title for Nintendo Switch 2.
Shocker.
I think we all see that coming. However, I think that Mario Kart 9, these are my two predictions for it. I think that it is going to have several non-Mario characters in there. So let's put a cap on that. Let's say more than 5 non-Mario characters.
Okay.
And I think they're gonna show that in the trailer. I think you're going to see that. So like Inkling or Link or whatever. And this is probably just wishful thinking. And we probably won't see this in the Direct, actually. I'm sure we won't see this in the Direct. But I don't know. My heart is just like, there's going to be one Diddy Kong racing track in this game. Just one. Any one of them. They're all great. But just there's got to be one Diddy Kong. The GOAT kart racer needs a track in this game. So that's my two on Mario Kart 9.
No, we all know the GOAT kart racer is Shrek Swap Car. Let's be real here.
I've never had the privilege of playing that game, actually. Need to get on that.
Honestly, I don't know. That and Garfield Kart. How could I forget the
you monster?
The King of Kings.
You know what? I think I have played Garfield Kart, actually. I don't know why. And it wasn't for very long, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious prediction, but I mean, someone's got to say it,
Yeah.
So yeah, Mario Kart 9 obviously going to be shown off. Probably going to be the big launch title. Like that's going to be the system seller right there. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, best-selling game on the Switch, second best-selling Nintendo game of all time behind Wii Sports. Yeah, it's coming in hot, and yeah, I'm quite excited. I'll be honest, I don't really know what to predict for this game other than I think, and this is going to be such a cop-out vague prediction, but again, like I don't know what direction Mario Kart 9 is going to go in, but I think Mario Kart 9 is going to be more, so like typically, I feel like Mario Kart Wii and onwards, and maybe even Double Dash to Wii to a lesser degree, have been very iterative enough to make each game like stand apart and have its own identity, but like if you know your way around one Mario Kart game, you can find your way pretty easily through most of the others, with a couple of exceptions, like 64, like the Super Circuit, SNES, and I feel like control wise it's still going to be very very similar, but I feel like from a gameplay perspective this new Mario Kart 9 is going to redefine what we think of a Mario Kart title. I think this game is going to be one of the most ambitious Mario Kart games we've seen in a very long time. That could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. That is not ambitious. That would be lame as hell.
I think that would be awesome,
please.
Man. Like I honestly do.
So here's the thing. I am not opposed to more Nintendo characters and more Nintendo tracks. I think that's awesome. If that's the sole gimmick of Mario Kart 9, that I would be immeasurably disappointed in that. If that was the entire thing. And especially because like at the end of the day, like I want Mario Kart. That's what I'm coming here for. Like the Nintendo characters are awesome, but like I think of them similar to how I think of like a third-party character in Smash. They're hype, but at the end of the day, Smash is a Nintendo fighting game. That's what I came to the party for. And so, at the end of the day, I want to see Mario Kart with some special guests. I'm not even opposed to like bringing in some actual third-party characters. Pac-Man was in the arcade games. I think it's Pac-Man's time to join a real Mario Kart game. That would be genuinely hype. But at the end of the day, I still want Mario characters. And I will say, so Mario Kart 8 infamously started off, I guess I am getting some actual predictions now. Mario Kart 8 started with an infamously awful roster. I love base game Mario Kart 8, but that base game roster was pretty terrible, to put it mildly. Over time though, with the DLC and especially with the Booster Course Pass 8 Deluxe, it ended up becoming like one of the best rosters in the series, after all those characters were added. And right out of the gate, we know that it seems like there's going to be 24 players on each racetrack now, literally doubling the amount of racers from like previous Mario Karts, which at least tells me that our character roster is going to be increasing substantially. And so I'm really hoping we get some cool deep cut Mario characters. I'd love to see Egad join the race. I'd love to see Tatanga from Mario Land. I don't think that would happen, but that would be like such a wild pick. I would be so down for that.
I don't know how you can sit there and tell me that you'd rather that than like Samus or
Tatanga
like,
would be. I would jump out of my seat if Tatanga or Wart.
We are at complete opposite ends of the Mario Kart side. I think it needs to go like Nintendo Kart.
I don't. I'd be hype if Samus or Captain Falcon joined the race too. I hope they do. That'd be. I'll be jumping into my seats there too. But dude, Egad, Tatanga, give me Chargin' Chuck from Mario World. Hell yeah, dude! Give me those deep cuts. Captain Syrup from Wario Land.
I mean that would be fine, but I mean like, hey, come on, let's be real here. Like if we're picking, I'm taking like Marth from Fire Emblem over them. I'm taking Samus over them. I'm taking
definitely
Pac-Man
taking Tatanga
over
over. I'm absolutely taking Tatanga over Marth. I'll tell you that right now.
Marth whips. He's awesome. I just like the obscure Mario characters. And listen, like I like Egad. Like they just do nothing for me. Like I'm ready for Mario Kart to like expand, and not necessarily for the racers, but for the tracks. Like I want a Metroid track. I want a Pikmin track. I want you know what I mean, like that kind of stuff. Give me. I'm gonna even say something blasphemous here. Give me a Kirby Air Ride track.
What?
That's right. That's how serious I am about this. So. Okay,
I think we need to check Andy's pulse.
Is this actually Andy or is this someone in disguise? But like legit though, like I think that would be. I mean, you probably couldn't get away with putting Pokemon in there, but like that would also be pretty sweet. But you know what I mean, just like that kind of like diversity. Like I feel, I don't know. I mean, we'll see with Mario Kart. That's not my like hill to die on. I think that'd be cool. But I do think it would be cool to see like Captain Syrup and stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, you know, I would love to see more tracks. I just don't want that to become like the main thing of Mario Kart. It's like, that's the gimmick. It's all Nintendo stuff. It's like, yeah, sprinkle in some more Nintendo stuff in there, but at the end of the day, it's still a Mario Kart game.
Yeah, and that's fair. I'm sure that I've like, if people like diehard Mario Kart fans are just like, this is blasphemy, like turning it into a Nintendo car. But as like a non-diehard Mario Kart guy, I'm like, that sounds cool to me. So. Maybe there is a happy medium there to be found. Okay, so that was my prediction. Is it your turn? I think. Who cares?
I think
Go
so. So let's do our second obvious prediction, and
here it is.
I don't know. Maybe this one will relate to the thumbnail. You know what? We've talked about it. We've talked about it before. In fact, we talked about it at the start of the episode. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Full reveal. It's coming to the Switch 2. It's coming to the Switch 1 also. Yep. So all you Switch 1 owners, don't you worry. You're getting a beautiful, beautiful Switch 1 version 2. It's going to look and play fantastic. But, you know, on that Switch 2, you'll get a little bit extra polish. You'll get some mouse-con controls.
Yep.
And yeah, it is also joining Mario Kart 9 on launch day on the Switch as the companion game.
Do you think that's another reason why some people are just like so against this game being like a dual release? Is because like and I'm not quite sure how to say this, but like there are some people that will not pick up a Switch 2 on day one, either because they can't or they just don't want to buy it for one game. Maybe that feeds into that narrative as well, like why it doesn't need to go onto the Switch 2. Like it's almost like a FOMO kind of thing. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I mean, here's the thing. If you don't care about the Switch 2 version and you're not interested in it, again, like it is going to be on the Switch 1. Yeah. Like it is going to be on the Switch 1.
I don't even think it's going to be like any better on the Switch 2. I think it'll be basically the same game. I pretty much expected like Breath of the Wild on the Wii U and Switch. Like they were the same thing.
I think we'll get a little bit more out of that, but then again, you and I also disagree on like whether or not the Switch 1 ports are going to be going to get enhancements or not. I think there'll be. I think it's going to be something that like your average layman won't be able to tell the difference, but like, you know, your hardcore people. Yeah. Your hardcore people that will be able to like compare it. It's like, oh yeah, you know, this one's in 1440p. You can see it looks a little bit crisper on this monitor here. You know, the level of detail in the distance is up and whatnot, you know, and maybe on the Switch 1, you know, there's a frame drop here, but there's no frame. Again, stuff that you like 99% of the players just are not going to notice or care about. Yeah. But like, you know, for that for that tiny 1% that does care about that stuff, just a little bit of extra polish.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you there. But, I think we see everything on like a big trailer, a release date, very likely. I think this is where you blow it out. I could be convinced maybe you don't see the release date here, but I think you should.
I think you do. I think if you're getting the Switch console release date and this is a launch title, I think I think you treat it the exact same way as the end of the Breath of the Wild trailer, where the Switch 1 console was immediately at the start of the presentation, March 3rd, and then they close it off with Breath of the Wild at the very end of the trailer. They just faded in that March 3rd at the end. I think you do something similar with Prime 4, assuming it is launching alongside Mario Kart 9, which I think it is. And again, kind of going into Metroid fans being scared. I just think Mario Kart 9 is the perfect companion title for Metroid Prime 4, which might seem bizarre because you're like, wait a minute. But you were just saying Mario Kart 8 was, the second best-selling Nintendo game of all time. Isn't that going to overshadow Prime 4? The thing with Mario Kart 9 is it's an entirely different type of game. Obviously, Mario Kart 9 is going to blow Metroid out of the water. And there is no alternate dimension where the opposite of that happens. Mario Kart 9 is going to dominate the Switch 2. It's the system seller. It is the reason people are picking up the Switch 2. But people also, and I don't, because Mario Kart 9 also is going to have single player content, but people are also going to want a brand new single player adventure. And presumably, outside of some third party titles that are going to be joining the Switch 2, which we'll talk about in a bit, probably the only other option they're going to have for a meaty single player adventure is going to be Metroid Prime 4. And so you set a lot of people, which is perfect for the Switch because we've already established that Switch audience loves to buy games. They keep tapping into Nintendo's treasure chest and buying more and more software on unprecedented levels. And I imagine that same thing, especially out of the gate with all those hardcore fans, is going to continue with the Switch 2. And Metroid Prime 4 is the perfect candidate combined with Mario Kart 9 for someone who's craving a meaty single player adventure. I think this is now, if instead of Mario Kart 9 we got 3D Mario, different scenario. I think that would be a bad combination.
Let's save that.
I got some words on that later. That would be a bad combination, but I think most people agree that's not the timeline we live in. Mario Kart 9 is probably going to be the launch title, and as such, I think this they could not have a more perfect time to pair that up with Metroid Prime 4. Mario Kart 9, if anything, can only help Metroid Prime 4 because that's enticing more people into the Switch 2 ecosystem who then have the potential to buy Metroid Prime 4 on the Switch 2.
I agree and disagree with you, actually. I think that launching Prime 4 with Mario Kart or with 3D Mario would be great. And again, it comes... People discount this, and they really shouldn't because it really is so important. But we're talking about consumer perception here, right? And if you have a game that you treat like a big deal, people will treat it as a big deal. And when you're just okay, we need two great games to launch our system with, what's it going to be? It's going to be Mario Kart and it's going to be Metroid Prime 4. That's a big deal. Again, you kind of go back to even the GameCube days. The two big games that launched that system were Luigi's Mansion and Super Smash Bros. And nobody had ever heard of Luigi's Mansion. And granted, Luigi's a bigger name than Metroid is, but you kind of take that and you're just again, just it's that perception is well, this is a hot big game. I got to check this out. And you're I do agree. Mario Kart is a great game to launch it with because it's it's a single player versus a multiplayer experience. But even if you launch it with 3D Mario, I mean, what does it take you to beat 3D Mario? A month? And then after that, you're well, I need something else to play. The other hot game that launched the system is Metroid Prime 4. Let's check that out. And so I think that is where launching it just kind of really gives it that big game feel, because oftentimes we've complained about when Metroid games get released, and that's almost as big an issue as anything, because Samus Returns gets released after the 3DS is basically dead. Super Metroid gets released after the 3DS is basically dead. To a lesser extent,
you mean the SNES
or the SNES? Yes, I'm sorry. The Echoes to a lesser extent is kind of the same thing, right? You kind of look at the timeline of when these games are released, and it doesn't really help a lot of times when they're released, and it's never been put in that launch position. So let's do it. Let's show what a big deal this franchise is. So I think the perception is just so important for this series, and I think we're gonna get the blowout. I think we're gonna get a lot of new information. I think we'll have hopefully a lot to chew on for this podcast for the next couple weeks. So yeah, I think that that's a safe one here. And before I give my next prediction, I do want to preface here my philosophy in what I think that this direct is going to see, because I think we're a little bit different. I think that this is going to be a direct focused on year one Switch titles. I don't think it's just going to be like the launch window Switch titles, or Switch 2 titles, sorry. And that was the case with the Switch direct as well, where it focused on titles that were, let's say, like 6 to 9 months away. And I think that's going to be the same thing that we'll see here. So that being said, my next prediction is basically the exact same thing. You copy and paste everything we said about Metroid Prime, and you replace it with Pokemon Legends Zao, or whatever the hell it's called. And you know what? Pokemon Legends Arceus was a really fun game. It really was. Now we just saw some stuff about Pokemon Legends, so like I'm a little bit more iffy about this one, but you know what? I think it does show up. I think it shows up. I think we probably get confirmation that it's coming to Switch 2. I'm a little bit less cavalier if we're going to get a release date or not, but I think that we at least get confirmation like this is going to be a cross-gen game.
I'm not going to say we're not going to say Pokemon, but I feel like typically Pokemon games are more likely to show off in like, you know, the Pokemon company's own directs or the Pokemon Presents than they really do in Nintendo stuff, which it's not unprecedented. You know, Pokemon stuff has showed up in directs before. I think Detective Pikachu 2.
This game's called ZA, by the way. I don't know where the hell Zao came from.
Yeah, I don't. You're talking to the wrong guy here. So, but yeah, there definitely is a precedent for Pokemon showing up in Nintendo's presentation. So I'm not gonna say it's not possible, and I actually wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know, there was a small highlight again showing like, hey, this is one of the cross-gen games. I don't think Pokemon is gonna be a launch title on the Switch 2, although I don't think that's going to be. I think that's going to be something that comes out later down the line. But I do think that is going to be another cross-gen title.
Yeah, if I were a betting man, I'd probably say like March of next year, ish.
Didn't they? I could be wrong because I didn't watch the presentation. But didn't they reveal it was coming out in the holidays of this year, or am I mistaken on that?
I gotta be honest, I didn't watch the presentation either. It could. I mean, Pokemon Legends Arceus came out in January, so I mean, why mess with a good thing? I think that could maybe work as well.
Yeah, but, I'm gonna look that up right now. Pokemon ZA release date.
So yeah, we'll see.
It just says 2025. Doesn't say when in 2025. So I don't know.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it could be the November game. I mean, who knows, right? Like, I kind of have something else. You know what? That being said, though, if I think that the Switch 2 comes out in September, your November game is probably, there might not be a November game if Mario Kart is launching with the Switch, and Metroid Prime 4 probably isn't right behind it. So I mean, that slot is available.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think. I could definitely see them showing a bit of it just to show that it's a cross-gen title. I don't expect to see a lot of it until the June Direct, but again, I could be wrong.
We'll see. What's your next prediction?
All right. So this is one that I actually talked about before on our Samus's Percentages episode, which was focused solely on Switch 2 stuff. Back in the days of Switch 2 rumors before the console was officially announced. Remember that? Feels like ancient history now. Feels so good to be on the other side of that now, finally. But one of the for fun predictions I made, and I don't actually expect this to happen, but I'm gonna bring it up again here. So typically with a Nintendo launch, we see kind of like a casual tech demo-ish game that's used for kind of like a more casual audience to kind of demo some of, you know, the system features, to show them, you know, what is unique about the console. You know, we saw that with Wii Sports, you know, probably the most legendary and, you know, arguably one of the most important games Nintendo has released. Nintendo Land.
You're forgetting the quality Nintendo Land with Metroid Blast.
Yeah, and I was, how could I forget about Nintendo Land? Arguably the reason I still have my Wii U, if I'm being honest. And of course, you had 1-2 Switch on the Switch last time. I think, and granted, it's probably going to be like an original IP that they do this with, but I still think that there is an opportunity to bring Nintendogs back, man. I think that would, like, to me, I think that would be such a perfect tech demo for the Switch 2. So, like, on one hand, and I said this before, but like, obviously the Switch 2 at its core is a more powerful Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
If that's the main selling point, obviously you're gonna have other stuff like the mouse cons and whatnot, but the main selling point, it's a Switch but beefier. How do you sell that to a casual audience that doesn't really care about horsepower, graphics, and visual fidelity, etc.? Well, I'll tell you how you do it. You make heckin' cute doggos. That's how you do it. You make heckin' cute doggos, you launch that on the Switch 2, and you show, hey, on the Switch 2, we can make the cutest, most real, I don't want to say realistic, but, you know, the best looking dogs that we've ever made in a Nintendo game. And, you know, you can interact with them at an unprecedented level using the Switch 2 exclusive mouse cons. I don't know, like, I can see the pitch in my mind. Is it going to happen?
I
Probably
like that
not,
idea.
Again, I know, but like it sounds perfect though, right? It's so perfect.
I thought we were gonna have the same prediction actually, because I'm just gonna segue, but then I want to get back to Nintendogs because I love that.
Go for it.
I do have a prediction that we're gonna see some kind of game like a 1-2 Switch or a Wii U Land, or God, I can't even, Nintendo Land, or you know. Whatever, like that kind of game, I think is going to be there, and I think it comes out probably in the first like month or two. I can't say that I think it's going to be like a killer app or anything like that, but I think we get something, and it's probably something that shows off like the mouse. I loved it. I love bringing Nintendogs back though. Like I mean, it feels like it's time. Like did that game get a release on the 3DS? I can't remember.
So yeah, Nintendogs plus Cats. I can't remember if it launched on the 3DS or not, but it definitely came out in the first year.
I love that.
but yeah, it's been a while, and like Nintendogs, like on the DS in particular, was massively successful. Yeah, and like I definitely think that there's an audience for that on the Switch. I think there's a large portion of the current Switch audience that would eat up a new Nintendogs sequel, and I think like there's so much potential as like, you know, as a way to demonstrate the Switch 2 features. Like it feels right. Is it going to happen? Probably not, but like it's so perfect.
You know, is it going to happen? Probably not, but I don't know if a lot of us were sitting here predicting that Wii Sports was going to come back on the Switch, or that frankly, a lot of the things that came back on the Switch were going to happen, like Pokemon Snap or Mario Soccer or whatever. So I'm not like ruling it out entirely here. I love that pick actually. Okay, so what are we on now? So I talked about the Wii U Land game. Here's another one here. This is kind of a cop-out one, but it's a pick-me kind of a prediction.
Okay.
I think one of these 3 games is going to be shown as a Switch 2 title that releases, I don't know, let's call it within the first 6 to 9 months of the Switch 2's life. Elden Ring, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or Halo Master Chief Collection.
Oh,
one of those 3 games will be available on Nintendo Switch. And if you were asking me to power rank which one is most likely, I'm going to say number 3 is Elden Ring. I'm going to say number 2 is Final Fantasy, and number 1 is Halo.
Oh.
What do we think about that, spicy meatball?
I don't agree, but I love it. I will happily take the spice.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel a little something in my tum tum. I can feel it. I can feel something percolating.
Or actually, so are you predicting that is going to be within the first year of the Switch or on launch day?
No, not on launch day. Like within the first year of the Switch. So like again, like the first 6 to 9 months, let's just say.
Okay. So my third party list is still still a couple predictions away, but
I'm sorry, I didn't put it in any order. I could have easily just saved that one for later. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I will entertain that. I'll go into more specifics later.
Okay.
But
okay. Hold on. Does this encroach on your predictions? But give me your power ranking of which is most likely.
So I'll just say my power ranking: Elden Ring 1, Final Fantasy 2, Halo 3. But there's a big but, and I cannot lie about it. I don't think that entire trio is impossible. Actually, okay. if we're talking like that first full year. So
okay.
I'll go into specifics in a bit.
Yeah,
but,
we'll table it.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna have to make an audible here too because we're recording super late, guys. We love you. We asked you for your predictions. We're gonna read them off on the actual direct because we're running a little bit long here. So I am sorry, but I do have to wake my ass up and work in the morning.
Andy, remember when you were worried that we weren't gonna have enough material for tonight?
I was a little bit concerned. That seems foolish now, as we sit here at 9:54 p.m.
All right. So my next prediction, and you know what? Let's get a big one. We've done a few big predictions, but I'm feeling another meaty one here.
Okay.
So you and I have a little bit of a disagreement on what direction this direct is going to go. You think we're going to get that full launch window? I think we're going to focus more on like the first 3 to 5 months of the Switch 2, but I do think we're going to get at least one major exception. One major title, a small tease of what's to come. I think new 3D Mario reveal, baby.
Yeah.
New 3D Mario. It's not launching on the Switch 2, obviously. That's Mario Kart. Mario Kart's got that covered, but
I'm the one up here.
I think 3D Mario is going to be the big holiday title.
I don't think it's going to be the holiday title, although again, in my scenario, we launch in September. In your scenario, we launch in June. Mm-hmm. So if your scenario came true, I could see that. I could absolutely see that. I as well. I think that we're going to have the Mario Odyssey 2, let's just call it, revealed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it launches potentially in either November of this year or Q1 of 2026. I think that it's a given that we're going to see the next 3D Mario here. I feel so incredibly sure about this. And not only that, I'll even break down how I think this track is going to play out. I think it's going to start off with Mario Kart. I think we're going to do a little sizzle reel. We're going to go into Metroid Prime 4. We're going to do another sizzle reel. A couple other reveals that we'll get to here. And fast forward to the end. I think it ends with the new 3D Mario. And we'll save the next thing.
Okay, so I actually think it ends on Prime 4, but I could also see it end on 3D Mario as well. We'll see.
I don't think it'd be cool if it ended on Prime. That would be a real big endorsement, like a really big endorsement of Prime 4, and that would send a message, the perception again, like that this is a big deal. I would love if that happened, but I do think that we're gonna get something else, and even if we didn't, I do think that it would end on Mario instead of Prime 4, but that would be awesome. But yeah, I'm totally with you, man. That was so my prediction as well. So Mario Odyssey 2 revealed and all that kind of stuff. Okay, where are we at right now? What's next? I'll tell you what. I think that we are going to get within the first year. So not like a launch title, but like a first year. And one game kept on coming to my mind, but I'm not committing to it being this game. But I do think that we're going to get like one enhanced Switch port of a game that includes like all DLC, like everything. And the title that I keep on coming back to is Smash Ultimate.
I knew you were going to say that.
I think, I could see it. Like, because that's, if you sell that at, let's just say that you sell it at $70 American. That's a great value considering how much all of that DLC costs. And if you sold Smash Ultimate, like Ultimate Edition or Game of the Year Edition or whatever you want to call it, and then instead of releasing a new Smash, you just keep on pumping out DLC characters, I could see that. Now, do I want them to do that? Do I absolutely like think that they'll do that? No. but I could see that, and I think it would be an easy thing to do for like the first year. You know what I mean? Even if they didn't pump out DLC for it, and they were just like, listen, if you miss Smash on the Switch, here's everything in one complete package. I could see that. And again, it doesn't have to be Smash. It could be another game that had a lot of DLC. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's not Smash Bros. But I don't know. Like, Pokemon would fit that bill, but I don't see that.
Luigi's Mansion 3 with all the Scarescraper costumes.
Hey,
hey, I'd rebuy Luigi's Mansion 3 enhanced regardless. So
like, I'm looking at my collection here, which actually I can't see in the dark, but I keep on coming back to Smash. And you know what? If it's not Smash, I could see Breath of the Wild. I could see them just jumping it, because I mean, you're not going to see a new 3D Zelda right away. Like that, clearly, right? Like on year one of the Switch, I could see maybe it's Breath of the Wild instead, and it's up-resed as we talked about. It's got the Champions Ballad DLC included. I could see that.
I mean, that's one of my Switch 1 enhancement predictions right there. So yeah. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. So I don't want to say like Smash Bros specifically, but I mean, man, it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. I genuinely have I don't think we're going to see anything Smash until 2026 at the earliest. I genuinely have no idea what direction they're going to go in with Smash. Obviously, there will be Smash at some point on the Switch too, but like after Ultimate, it's like, where do you go after that? Like, on one hand, I could see them, just kind of do Ultimate Deluxe. At the same time, I could see them restart from scratch, but like, how do you reinvent the wheel to like, I feel like if you are going to start again from scratch, you have to really commit to it and truly reinvent the wheel. And it takes a person smarter than me to think of what that might entail.
Maybe they just make a big RPG. That'd be sweet. I'd love a Smash Bros. RPG. Maybe that's the thing, is like there's Smash Bros. Spin-offs that come in, and like one's an RPG, one's like I don't know, like a sports game or a kart game or something. Like I don't know.
You could do spin-offs, but like you gotta have a
legit Smash Bros. Game. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have a legit. Yeah. You gotta have
agree.
like, yeah. So again, I don't know when that's gonna happen, what that's gonna entail, but I don't think we're quite there yet.
Yeah, I agree. All right, brother, what you got?
All right. I got one last first-party prediction, and then it's on to the third parties, and
okay,
it's another spicy one.
I'm ready.
All right,
hit me with your best shot.
This is also sure thing, Pat Benatar. Sure thing. This is also another one that I hinted a little bit during our Switch 2 Samus's percentages, and I said, I'm gonna save the full version of this for when it's more applicable. And I think today is the day where it's really applicable. So obviously we know that Nintendo has big plans for Mario. I mean, they always got big plans for Mario. He's kind of a big deal. And we both agree, not everyone agrees with us, but we think that Nintendo has big plans for Samus in the future. But that's clearly not the only character that Nintendo's got big plans for. There's a certain Mario adjacent character that has been getting a little bit more of a spotlight, just inching more towards his direction. Whether it be the Mario movie, whether it be a certain Switch port that released a couple months ago, whether it be a certain redesign and a certain kart racer. Yeah, that's right. We're talking about Donkey Kong, baby.
Okay.
We're talking about the big ape himself. And this is kind of a 2-for-1 prediction, because as a part of that 3D Mario tease, I think the very end of that teaser, we're going to see Mario and Donkey Kong teaming up together in the very first mainline entry since the original arcade game. But this time they're not rivals. They're teaming up together, and it's going to be a major part of the gameplay hook.
Okay. I think that'd be great.
I think it's going to be similar to like how, at the end of the Odyssey trailer, they revealed that like, Mario's hat was alive, before we knew that was Cappy. And, and it just kind of leaves you off on that. Like, hey, who knows what the possibilities might entail after this. You'll get more info on that later. But yeah, Mario's hat is alive, and I think we're gonna get something similar, just a small tease. And you know what? We also did have a little bit of Donkey Kong teasing in Odyssey as well, with New Donk City and all the references that entailed.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this next 3D Mario, we're gonna get that full team up.
Okay.
And
I like it.
Yeah, I'm going big with this one.
I mean that game sounds awesome. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm not going to say it's impossible.
But again, but you know what? I'm gonna choose to believe. Perhaps foolishly slow.
Hey.
Perhaps foolishly so, but I choose to believe.
I mean, it's not impossible, right? Like that's a pretty cool hook for a 3D Mario, and I mean, people have been begging for a 3D Donkey Kong for like a long time. And I think that would be really interesting. I do kind of wonder though if like if like they would kind of stick to like the construction gimmick that like Mario and DK usually have together versus like when I think 3D Donkey Kong, I think like the jungle. I obviously think of like Bowser and Mario levels with 3D Mario. I do think that would be like very, very interesting crossover though. I would actually like love to see that. That sounds great.
I think you would get a bit of both, as well as some brand new environments. Because one of the things is, when you play a 3D Mario, you also get like, brand new areas that aren't just like, a grassland and stuff like that. I mean, Odyssey, has the Bowser levels, Japanese themed.
Yeah.
That's really, so like, I could definitely see like the construction stuff. I mean, we saw that in New Donk City. I could see like, the jungle stuff or the traditional Mario stuff. I could also see just some brand new areas in general. But yeah, I think, and there's another thing as well. And again, this is probably BS. It probably means nothing. But I remember there was a couple of years back, there was a rumor that Nintendo EPD, the team that typically works on 3D Mario, there was a rumor that they were working on a 3D Donkey Kong game. And obviously, that couldn't come true at this moment because, we know that 3D Mario has to be around the corner, obviously. But what if that rumor was true and that 3D Donkey Kong was also the 3D Mario game? Again, is that likely? Probably not, but it's just something I've been thinking about.
I like it. I like that prediction. I think it's bold, but fortune favors the bold, as we started this podcast off by saying. So I really hope that happens. And you know what? It's funny because I also had DK on the brain, and I wrote down a prediction about Donkey Kong, but I had a backup prediction in case you had a similar prediction, because I didn't just want to retread the same ground. So really quickly, my prediction was going to be, if you didn't say anything Donkey Kong, that I do think we're going to get a new DK game, but I think it's going to be a 2D game. And to be clear, that's not my preference. I really would love a 3D Donkey Kong game. I feel like it's probably going to happen.
I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think the next DK game will be a 3D one at this point. I think it will be. I mean, again, I'm predicting that it's literally the next 3D Mario. So I mean, but assuming that doesn't happen, which it probably won't. I do think the next DK game will be 3, because like again, like it is so clear that Nintendo has plans for Donkey Kong, whether it be
he'll have his own movie within like 2 years.
Yeah, whether it's his role in the Mario, to me, I feel like the biggest thing, even more so than like the movie and the park and the port and all that, honestly, and it might sound dumb, but like the redesign in Mario Kart, but you and I are not fans of that redesign. I much prefer.
No, I think it looks terrible.
I much prefer the Kevin Bayliss design from Rare, but to me, like that redesign like that tells me that like they have plans to like really push this new iteration of DK. That's what that tells me, especially one that shares a lot of similarities between the Mario movie redesign, which in and of itself is based off like that original, arcade version DK for the most part. That tells, that alone tells me that Nintendo has something big for Donkey Kong, and I can't imagine that another 2D game really fits that kind of ambition that they're communicating.
I don't know. I feel like I
That
see
not
it.
that's not to say that like a 2D game would be bad. I mean,
No,
I don't
I'm
think
sure
there's
it'd be
been a
great.
single.
I just
I don't think
I
there's been a
see-
single. Yeah, I don't think there's been a single bad 2D DK. That being said, like I think everyone is in agreement at this point. Like, okay, we've got enough at this point. Let's see something different. Let's see something new. Let's see something ambitious with the King of the Kongs.
Well, I mean, I do take umbrage. Like you calling the 2D games unambitious. I don't think it is fair. But I see your point.
I mean like something we haven't seen before.
I see.
Like,
I see your
I don't
point.
want. Because I don't want to disparage those 2D games. I still think Tropical Freeze is like one of the best platformers I've played in like the last couple of decades. That game is incredible. One of the best games to come out of Retro Studios, I think. And obviously, you know, that original DK trilogy is like iconic for a very good reason.
It's
like,
not
it's phenomenal.
untouchable. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think I mean, like, listen, it's been 25 years since the last 3D Donkey Kong game, and to be honest, there's only ever been one 3D Donkey Kong game. So like, I do think it's time. I have to say, I'm almost a little bit happy that you did mention Donkey Kong, because so I have 4 predictions left, and 3 of them I think are pretty out there, but the backup one I had is outrageous. And they're like, the saddest percentage of this coming true is probably like 2%, right? But you know what? I was thinking of Donkey Kong, and I was thinking of retro, and I was like, well, you know, it probably would make sense that they were at one point working on a third Donkey Kong game. But we also heard them working on another game for a long time, and the game never came to fruition. And I was thinking, like, what's a series that it's like a mid card series, a Nintendo series, let's call it. So like you've got your Mario, you've got your Metroid, you've got your Mario Kart, you've got your Pokemon that's coming out in the first year of the Switch too. What's a good C level Nintendo series that needs to come out to kind of pad out the release? And I you know what? I was like, it's time. It's almost Easter. Things get resurrected from the dead, and just like Metroid Dread, it's time for the return of Fox McCloud in Star Fox Grand Prix, launching at the Nintendo Switch 2 at some point in the year. I mean, that'll never happen, but like, that'd be so awesome if that ever just like, if they were just like, you know what, let's just finish this game. Maybe it's like 30% of the way done. They're like, oh, let's just finish it and let's release it. I think
nothing will ever top the resurrection of Metroid Dread, but that would be definitely in the runner-up if that somehow came to fruition.
That would be awesome, right? Like just another like a retro. It's kind of got some Metroid adjacentness to it. That'd be good stuff if we just saw a Grand Prix.
Like, it would be I'd be mixed, because on one hand, like, it would be hilarious if that game was actually real and came out. I highly doubt that game was ever real to begin with, but if it was real, that'd be funny. A part of me would also be pretty disappointed. Like, really, we're getting this instead of like a mainline Star Fox game?
Well,
like,
okay,
like it wouldn't be quite.
How good have
like,
the last couple mainline Star Fox games been? To be fair,
not good, but that doesn't mean that I don't want them to stop trying. I think there's so much potential for Star Fox. They're not tapping into the right set. Right now, the biggest problems with Star Fox is that they're really trying, and I think we talked about this before, but like, they're really trying to mimic the success of Star Fox 64, because that's the best selling Star Fox title
over and over again.
Yeah, and they're trying to extract that essence, but like, at this point, like, you know, we're sick and tired of it. It's like, no, we've seen Star Fox 64 at least 3, if not 4 times now. It's a 64x4 at this point. We need something new. I've always said, like, you know, I would love to see the Project Aces team that does the Ace Combat games. I'd love to see them, you know, what's their interpretation of a Star Fox game. I think that would be absolutely wild. Like, and you know, it would be, you know, ambitious. It would be like, it would still have like enough of that Star Fox DNA intact, but it would be, you know, a type of Star Fox game unlike anything that we've played before. It would not quite like it would still have the arcadey elements, but it would have like a little bit of simulation in there too. And one thing that Ace Combat is also known for is like very very cheesy character banter and dialogue. And that's that's so perfect for Star Fox. Like Star Fox is like built on like cheesy character banter, dialogue, one-liners, enemy dialogue back and forths.
I have to say, I really don't think a racing Star Fox game is like a far cry from Star Fox as it is right now. You know what I mean? Like imagine you're going through a Star Fox 64 level and you're playing multiplayer. You got to beat someone, like you got to finish it before they do, and like you can have your boost and you can have like boss. Like I don't think that is like a dimension removed from Star Fox. So I would really like to see that and learn, I guess, a little bit about what that concept was. Because I do think that it was far enough along in development. Because, like, where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Like, we heard a lot about it. I think they were at least, like, into like, very basic pre-production. Like, talking, like, what's the plan? What's the gimmick? How do we do this? I think that game existed in that form.
I'm not saying the game wouldn't be fun. It probably would be a decent time. But, like, if I looked at that, I'd be like, man, I would have rather either had like a legit Star Fox game or a legit F-Zero game, whereas this kind of doesn't fully satisfy either of those needs for me.
And that's fair. I guess I'm just saying, like, listen, we've had so many legit Star Fox games and none of them have hit. Like, honestly, none of them have hit since 1997. So I'm not opposed to trying something different.
I still like the GameCube Star Fox games a lot. They're far from perfect, but I think they're fun games. For me, it's Command and onwards where like the series really starts to like nosedive for me.
I even think Command is really fun, to be honest with you. But I mean, like we can't sit here and say that like Assault was like a smash hit or even Adventures was a smash hit, right? Like so anyways, yeah. I don't know. Maybe it happens. Maybe it probably doesn't. But it'd be cool if it did. And I would be the only person, I think, to predict that.
It would be absolutely wild. I feel like more people predicted Metroid Dread coming back than anybody would ever predict like Star Fox Grand Prix. So that would be the insane pull of a lifetime if you got that right.
That really is like an asinine prediction, but I wasn't gonna do it, but I was like, you know what? I'll put it in my back pocket just in case.
Honestly, we've spent more time than should be legally allowed on that prediction as it goes. So I think it's time to go to our third-party predictions now.
I think so. Yes, let's move on.
So I have a list of potential third-party launch lineup. I also have a couple of I wanted to extrapolate more on third-party enhancements list because I do think third-party games will also receive some Switch 2 upgrades for games that are already on the Switch 1 as well. Unfortunately, I didn't quite have enough time to write that part out, so I'll mostly be just doing my third-party launch lineup prediction, but I did want to read off, the couple of titles I had in mind for the third-party enhancement list. One of them I have here is Doom Anthology, just kind of a blanket statement because literally every single Doom game is playable on the Switch right now, except for those mobile game RPGs that were like on the Nokia N-Gage, maybe. I can't remember where those released, but like all of the Doom games that everyone cares about are on the Switch. I think Dark Age, well, spoiler for my third-party launch lineup, I think Dark Ages is going to come to the Switch 2 at some point. Just to complete that, Bethesda has a great relationship with Nintendo. I think the anthology is there's a few games, a few good candidates in there that could make for some juicy Switch 2 upgrades, and all of those games are also playable on the base PS4 and Xbox One, which presumably this new console is going to be roughly on par with. So I don't think that's too out of the question.
Yeah, I don't have much for that. Yeah.
All right. Here's a fun one. I know you'll like this one. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Switch 2 enhanced. I actually don't think this one would be a huge enhancement, but the Switch. So the original release of Prince of Persia was actually built with the Switch 1 in mind, and then that PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X release just kind of had some minor enhancements on top of that. So Yeah, I could definitely see some of those enhancements carry over to a Switch 2 version. I definitely don't mind an excuse to replay that game.
No, I haven't still played the DLC actually. In fact, I think that'd be great.
I actually completely forgot about that. I need to get on that.
Jules played it, I think actually. I should ask her how it is. Yeah, that's and I guess like the issue for me is like I think like if we're gonna do enhancements, then yeah, that makes sense to do. So that's another one where like yeah.
Okay, and then the final one. This is more kind of a wish list here, but Tony Hawk's 3+4 is dropping on July 11th.
That'd be cool.
Would be pretty nice if we also got some enhancements for that 1+2 port on the Switch currently. Just a little bit of an extra nudge there.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be sweet.
Right.
Heck yeah. I just don't know if I see it for enhancements. You're probably right. It's just one of those things that like I until I see it, I don't know. I can't see it until I see it, if that makes sense.
That's fair because we are in unprecedented territory. It's not something Nintendo has ever done before.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Let me go to. I do have a couple of first party predictions left, but I do have a third party prediction here just to kind of keep things kind of copacetic. And it's kind of like a third party / almost first party prediction a little bit. I think that somehow, some way, Nintendo has got to get the rights and work with Namco in order to get Xenosaga Trilogy over on the Switch 2. I think they got to find a way to make it work. And I think it'd be a really great, again, like a really good like B level kind of or C level kind of release for like an August or like you know what I mean, like one of those months where there's not a lot going on, a January, or a February, which we didn't even get a first party Nintendo title for, which I remember we disagreed about, by the way.
Yeah, I definitely ate some dirt on that one for sure. I won't.
I think that like I mean this is probably like a personal one because like I really like the Xenosaga trilogy, but like Monolith Soft made those games, right? Mm-hmm. So like I feel like there's maybe some I don't know like impetus to get those games on the Switch to see like, hey, like from the team that gave you Xenoblade Chronicles, check out this series.
Aren't those games like loosely a part of like the Xenoblade like universe, or am I mistaken in that?
No, you're not mistaken at all. There's lots of references to Xenoblade there. Like, and in fact, the main character of the whole trilogy, Cosmos, is a blade in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. She's the android with like the long blue hair, the big guns, big machine guns. Let me preface or let me clarify. Oh boy. But
Omega Metroid After Dark.
Omega Metroid After Dark. It is 10:30, my god. But yeah, like I think that there's like so much crossover in the Xenoblade games, anyways. Like, I was surprised that this didn't happen on Switch actually. But like we've got every Xenoblade Chronicles game now on Switch. Like let's get this over to Switch 2. Let's just make it happen. And you know what? Get Xenogears while you're at it.
Yeah. So I don't think this happens year one or maybe necessarily even year two of the Switch. I do think that we absolutely see those games coming to Switch 2 eventually. Just because, like you said, literally every single Xenoblade game is finally on the Switch. I think it makes absolute sense to port Xenogears as well. And especially because, I mean, Nintendo and Bandai Namco have, like, a really good working relationship together. Bandai Namco even, helps develop, Nintendo games, Mario Kart, Smash, like they had a direct hand in, those titles. They probably have a hand in the new Mario Kart title as well. They're probably working with Sakurai right now as we speak. Like that makes too much sense, actually.
I'm surprised it didn't happen for the Switch. I really thought it would have, but it's never too late to fix things. So will it be shown in this direct? I mean, probably not. But I mean, there's got to be some third party stuff that's going to get showed off. So I mean, why not this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I definitely think at some point in the Switch 2's life we will see some Xenosaga.
Great games, by the way.
Xenosaga / Xenogears.
Xenosaga is just like a wild franchise for anybody that's never played it. If nothing else, you should go on YouTube, the Albedo Momo scene. Oof. We'll leave it at that.
I have zero context of what any of that means.
Yeah, you know what? That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, what do you got?
All right. Yeah. So is it all right if I just go through my whole third party list or?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah. So I have some hype predictions. I got some wish listy predictions, and I got some ones that we probably don't care about, but also probably are going to happen.
Okay.
But they're realistic, so I thought it was important to include them as well.
Okay.
And we're actually going to start off with one of those maybe safer and tamer predictions, and that's Assassin's Creed Shadows, which actually just released last week for PS5, Series X, PC. I think that we will have. I think we're gonna have a Ubisoft game launch with the Switch. I don't think it's going to be another Nintendo crossover. I think we'll get that eventually, but I don't think we're gonna get it in the launch window like we did with Mario plus Rabbids. I think we're gonna wait another year or two before we see our next Nintendo and Ubisoft collaboration. So I think for now we're gonna get Assassin's Creed Shadows.
Yeah, I could see that. A part of me almost wants to say, like, I bet you they'd release, like, Assassin's Creed Valhalla Enhanced Edition or something like that. You know, because it seems like they were never quite up to date on the Assassin's Creed franchise on the Nintendo consoles, but I could see that it coming along. Yeah, for sure.
And the next one, all right, we got a juicy one for the next one. This to me is such a no-brainer. People would lose their absolute minds if this. Imagine Baldur's Gate 3 day one on the Switch 2. Ooh. That would sell gangbusters.
You know,
like
what?
People that is a third-party announcement people would actually lose their minds over.
I'm with you. I think that's going to happen. Now I don't know if it's going to happen year one. That's my only caveat. But I could totally see Baldur's Gate 3 on Switch 2. Like me and Allison were talking about this actually, and I was like, I bet you this game shows up on Switch 2 at some point. I would power rank that honestly like number 4 beneath the other 3 games that I had, because like I do feel like you do need like a big third-party game, kind of like Skyrim was that game for Breath of the Wild for Nintendo Switch, even though it was 6 years old at that point. I thought that felt like a big game to be on the Switch, and I feel like Baldur's Gate would feel like a big game to be on the Switch.
Like Baldur's Gate 3 would be absolutely massive.
I would probably buy it too.
I think a lot of people. I feel like that might even be like people's like second pick of a game, even potentially. Like a lot of people, they'd buy Mario Kart 9. A lot of people would probably pick Baldur's Gate 3 as their second game. It's a massive one.
Maybe we delayed by a couple months to give Metroid Prime a little breathing room.
Yeah, that's a December title, boys.
Yeah, I like it though.
And then and then next up, I already talked about this before. Doom: The Dark Ages. I think that this will happen during the first year. All the Doom games are already on Switch.
Yep.
They were able to get 2016 and Eternal on the base Switch. I think they'll be able to downport Dark Ages to the Switch too.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
When is Dark Ages supposed to come out?
May 15th.
May 15th? Yeah, that's another one I don't know. You know what? Maybe not. I could see. For me, it's kind of like one of these games is going to be there. Not all of them though. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but I could see Baldur's Gate and Dark Ages eventually both being on Switch too. But both in the first year, maybe not though. Something tells me maybe not.
I mean, precedent says you're right, because 2016 and Eternal came out well after their original games came out. But like, I don't know. I feel like I think the Switch 2 is going to come out after Dark Ages is already released, but I don't know. I feel like there's going to be a shorter window this time. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. I could see it. And like, one of the big things that the Switch 2 should really strive to do is like get parity with the other consoles in order to get these games out at the same time.
Absolutely.
All right, what else you got there, or do you want me to throw one in here? What would you rather?
Yeah, sure. I've said like 3 now. So yeah, you absolutely. I've
only got 2 left
to our third party pile. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's not a third party pile. but it is a third.
Oh, okay.
It's a third of something.
Oh.
I really don't see the big deal in making this happen. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. It would be such an easy thing to do. It would make so many people happy. Just do it. Bring Mother 3 to Game Boy Advance Online. Just get it done. You get it. Like, can you imagine if they showed off Mother? People would lose their minds.
Yeah,
90% of them haven't even
bananas.
played Mother 3. Probably 99% of them. And I've played Mother 3, and it's a great game, and I played a great fan translation of it. It was amazing. It's like, just do it, you know? Like, it's easy. It's easy to do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know anything, but like, it seems to me like it'd be pretty easy to do. You hire someone to translate it. What else do you need?
I remember you brought this up during a Nintendo Predictions episode a long time ago, and I said, my God, man, if they can make Star Fox 2 a reality, there's no reason they can't make Mother 3 a reality at this point.
No kidding.
It is insane.
Yeah, like, it's just like, this would be like the biggest goodwill thing that you could do for Nintendo fans. And you know what? It's like Ridley and Smash. Most Nintendo fans probably don't even care. They probably won't even play Mother 3, but it's just like, it's one of those things that's like you felt like you achieved something. Like, you felt like you convinced Nintendo to bend a little bit on something that they said they wouldn't do. So like, just do it, you know, like, and again, that encourage people like, hey, all of your stuff is going to transfer over to Switch 2, plus you've got this new game that's never... and maybe you can lock it behind the Switch 2. I don't know. Or maybe it's just an eShop title. I also don't know. But, like, just make it happen.
They do Mother 3, but it's like that weird period where Nintendo was, like, delisting games after 6 months, like with Mario 35 or the Fire Emblem port. Oh, that would be that is a monkey paw scenario that I could absolutely see Nintendo doing.
Yeah, that was gnarly. Okay, I've only got one more prediction here. I'll save it for later. What you got?
Okay. All right. Got a bit of a boring one that you, I, and honestly probably most people in our audience won't care about, but I think this is realistic. EA Sports FC 25. That's the new title for their soccer game. It's a pretty safe bet, I think.
It still feels weird not to call it FIFA, doesn't it?
Yeah. It feels bizarre, but
I think you're right.
That'll probably come to Switch too. I'm not gonna play it.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna play it either, but like, there's a lot of people that do play those games. To be fair, I don't know how many of them play them on the Switch, but hey, there's an audience for it, I think. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's important, I think, to show that, because I think the Switch presentation, the first one, had that too. Like, they had a bunch of FIFA games shown, or maybe it was like NHL or something like that. But like, I do think that you want to show that variety in your presentation.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then these next two, I'm going to actually list these two at the same time because you already listed them. I got Elden Ring Complete Edition and Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Let's go! I think like there's a chance like all three, including the Halo collection, I think there's a chance all three of those could be on Switch 2 within like the first 18 months of it being out. I really do.
I don't think you're wrong. This is kind of like my draft pick for launch day, and I definitely don't think all of these are coming day one. But this is just kind of like this is kind of the pool that I'm pulling from for day one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's like we were just saying, like, not like, it's not going to be Assassin's Creed Shadows and God, what did we just say? Doom the Dark Ages, but I think it'll be one or the other, or like one of these. Like, there's going to be a big third-party game that's shown. That I am very confident of.
I would even say I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, like, 2
or 3.
Like 3 to 5 of them even. Like, I think, because the thing is, going from the Wii U to the Switch 1, there was a lot more hesitancy to jump on board the Switch after the Wii U. That is not the case for the Switch 2. Everybody is clamoring. You know damn well every publisher is clamoring to get their stuff onto the Switch 2. Yeah. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if we see like a pretty hefty third-party list. Again, I don't think it's going to be this entire third-party lineup that I'm listing out right now, but I think a sizable portion of it is not unreasonable to predict.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like that a lot actually.
I got
Okay.
or,
No,
I got
you
another.
you finish yours off, and I'll bring us home with mine. Mine's the one more thing, and this is probably mine's
Okay.
probably not a surprise.
Okay, I know what yours is going to be. I disagree with it, but we'll get to that when we get to that. This next one, I think this is a sleeper pick because I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but I actually low key think it's super likely. I think there's a very good chance we see Hades 2 exit early access on launch day on the Switch 2.
Ooh, that would be really hype.
Hades was Hades was massive all around, but like I think most people can agree, like Switch and PC were like the big platforms for that game, and like Switch, in general, people associate with Hades as a brand. I think Hades 2, like coming into fruition, leaving early access and joining day one on Switch 2. I think that's up there with Baldur's Gate 3 as like a massive tier, like third party reveal.
Yeah, you know what? Like that's not a title that I considered. That just makes it makes a lot of sense though, doesn't it? Like
right?
you could convince me of that. I think for sure. Yeah. Great pick. And that's exciting too, because like I could see it happening and I would be hyped for that. Like I wasn't expecting to like Hades that much, and it took me a while to get into it, but man, once I did, I was just like, this is awesome. Like I've got like 100 hours in that game. That would be really exciting, and you're right, it really does make a lot of sense actually. I could see that right up there with all the other games for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be honest, Hades 2 out of all these might be my number one pick. Like I'm feeling that confident.
You know what? From a perception standpoint, I think I'd still rather like Elden Ring or Final Fantasy. But I would because I know that Hades is going to come to Switch at some point. But I would be thrilled if we had Hades 2 for Switch 2 at this direct. That'd be amazing. Because it's supposed to come out at some point in 2025, isn't it? Like the console.
It's supposed to leave early access sometime this year. I can't remember if there was a specific time in the year, but I remember that it's 2025. So
that would be very exciting. I would be really hyped for that. Okay, what else you got, or have we reached the end?
All right, I got 3 more. Okay. So Capcom and Nintendo have a very lovely working relationship. Monster Hunter in particular has a huge history with Nintendo. I think we're seeing Monster Hunter Wilds jump to the Switch too. That's another one that just makes too much sense.
I can see that. Again, like I think you put it in the pile and like you pick 2 or 3 out of that pile. But
right.
Yeah, I could see that. That wouldn't do a lot for me personally, but I think a lot of people would be excited. And it's a very Nintendo coded franchise.
Yeah, I'm still saying I'm grabbing more than 2 or 3. I'm grabbing a fistful of these titles, not the whole bowl, but I'm being a little greedy here.
Okay.
I think we're gonna get a lot of third party action on day one.
Okay.
And then yeah, and by the way, I don't know if anybody has noticed. I made sure that every single publisher for all my third party picks was unique. I wanted to diversify our publisher lineup. I didn't want to just do like 3 or 4 from Activision, 2 Capcom titles. Every single developer / publisher here is wholly unique. Even from Microsoft, Doom is the only Microsoft title I have in my third party grab bag here. So I just wanted to point that out. And going into that, our next publisher is Koei Tecmo, and that is for Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which was just shadow dropped recently from the Xbox presentation about a month or 2 ago now, I want to say. And everyone's been loving that. They also revealed Ninja Gaiden 4 is in development, coming out later this year. Ninja Gaiden's also a series that has its roots on the NES. This one, you combine that with the Koei Tecmo relationship with Nintendo. That one, I feel confident adding it to the grab bag.
Yeah, that one I feel like is maybe a bit more. I think that makes sense. I guess I'm just kind of like, that probably doesn't do much for me, so like maybe I don't see it as much. But I mean, like it's not like Nintendo and Koei Tecmo aren't like pretty tight and working on a bunch of games. And you know, there's some older fans of my vintage that grew up playing Ninja Gaiden on Nintendo. So yeah, that one I think is like less likely and less exciting than some of our other picks, though.
Yeah, definitely not a Hades 2, definitely not a Baldur's Gate 3 or an Elden Ring, but it's definitely has its place, I think. And then the final one I have here is from Konami. Now, Konami has a very weird relationship with Nintendo, or I guess gaming in general lately. But they're slowly starting to come back. You know, they're starting to port over some of their old games, particularly their Castlevania collections, which are awesome. So happy that we're seeing those Castlevania collections come back. And then we're also seeing remakes of some of their most beloved games. And we got Metal Gear Solid 3 coming out a bit later this year, but of course, I think the Switch 2 is coming a bit earlier, so I don't think we would see the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, but we did just have the Silent Hill 2 remake, which surprised a lot of people. A lot of people were not expecting that game to hit it out of the park like it did from Bloober Team, but it reviewed well, it sold well. A lot of people were pleasantly surprised by it. That is a game I could definitely see on the Switch, especially because we don't really have, at least in my grab bag so far, we don't really have any horror games. That could definitely fill that horror niche there. So,
yeah. That one I feel like I would have a harder time seeing. I'll be honest, like I'd probably envision like a horror game coming from Capcom, like one of the Resident Evil remakes versus the Silent Hill one. But I mean, like I don't know. That one I think would be maybe the least likely of all that we've talked about, though.
Here's the thing, I probably agree with you on Resident Evil coming first before Silent Hill, but at the same time, I already got Monster Hunter Wilds on there, and I just wanted to keep it at one Capcom, so.
I think even for Capcom, like it sounds like weird. I could almost see like, because it's one of the only Castlevania games that's not on the Switch is Symphony of the Night. Like I could even see like a remake or something like that coming before Silent Hill, and I don't know if I'd say that that's like necessarily something that's I would be saying is going to drop anytime soon either. I mean, we could be wrong, or I could be wrong. Like they very well could show Silent Hill 2, but that one to me seems like a little bit more of a reach. I think.
Maybe save that one for Halloween.
Yeah, put it beside Luigi's Mansion 4. See what sells better on the Nintendo Switch too. Okay, so as we have stated. I think that this is going to be more of a year one, like a 6 to 9 months kind of release here. And everybody for the last couple weeks, they've been rolling their eyes at me when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think that you start off with Mario Kart 9. I think that you do a third-party sizzle reel. I think that you transition into Metroid Prime 4. I think you reveal a new Nintendo game or two. I think that then Mario Odyssey 2, or whatever you want to call it, is shown off. And there's one more thing. I just can't see... Like, this presentation is to hook people, both Nintendo fans and not Nintendo fans, into saying, you've got to buy a Nintendo Switch 2 right away within the next couple of months. I think that what is going to convince a lot of people to do this is if they know the next 3D Legend of Zelda title is in the works. And I don't think this is as ridiculous as people think. Listen, I'm not saying you need to like do a full-blown, expose on the game, but I do think that you can have a teaser trailer at the end of the presentation, and maybe it's just some CGI footage. Maybe it's as simple as just like that trailer that we saw at E3 2004, right? Like one of the most effective trailers of all time. That game didn't come out for another 2 years. If you were to tell me that the next 3D Legend of Zelda game wasn't coming out till 2027, late 2027, I totally believe you. But we're mid 2025 already, or pretty close to mid 2025. Why not show it now? Next year in the big summer direct, you can really kind of blow it out, reveal the subtitle, reveal the gimmick, all that kind of stuff. But you tell people, like, you've got your Mario, you've got your Mario Kart, you've got your Metroid. But I mean, Zelda on the Switch sold like 50 million copies, right? Probably more actually than that. I just don't see them doing a Nintendo Switch 2 presentation and leaving off the big main event player that is the Legend of Zelda series. I think we see a teaser for the next 3D Zelda game. I think it's only going to be a minute or two, and I don't think we're going to get a lot of information. I don't think it's going to basically be what that Breath of the Wild 2 trailer was. And that's fine. That's all it needs to be, as long as the game can release within like a reasonable timeline, let's just call it. So I think that's coming, and I don't know. I can't see no Zelda at all on the Switch for not even being mentioned for however long. Like I don't know when the right time to show it off is, if not now. So I think the next 3D Legend of Zelda game is officially shown. That's my prediction. And it closes the Direct.
Zelda will be mentioned. Breath of the Wild enhanced. Pay up.
Maybe it's both. Maybe it's both. I don't know.
So here's what I will say. I'm gonna let you believe. We were just getting mad at other Metroid fans who were getting mad at us for belief. So I'm not gonna lay that on you. I'm gonna let you believe. I personally don't think it's happening this year, but I'm gonna let you believe. And you know what? I hope you are right. I think that would be hype as hell and unexpected, at least for me, if we did get, a small snippet Zelda teaser. Like, that would be awesome. Everyone would lose their minds. Everyone would be happy. I think that'd be fantastic. So even though I don't think it's going to happen, I genuinely hope it does. If it does happen, I don't think there's any chance that it happens during this upcoming Direct. To me, that's a June Direct closer right there.
I think that's the fundamental difference, I think, is I don't see the value in a Direct that only says, like, this is what you're getting in the first 3 months of the Switch 2. I think you got to look at the bigger picture with this, because there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this, that they're not just your regular Nintendo Direct people, that right? Like, and Nintendo Directs get like millions of views, but this one I anticipate is going to have like much more viewership than your average Nintendo Direct. So I think you do got to sell the idea to like maybe someone that's a PC gamer, maybe someone that's a PlayStation gamer, like maybe they're not even watching it, maybe they're just reading about it, but it's like, man, this Switch 2, like, we got Mario Kart, we got Mario, we got Zelda, we got Metroid, like, damn, we got Donkey Kong, this is a console that I need to buy. So, and you know what, without Zelda, I think if even, like, half the stuff that we talked about comes true, that's still an amazing lineup, right? Like, so I'm not trying to disparage that, but I think Zelda really is the coup de grace that you want to do to really make this, like, no pun intended, but like a legendary Direct. Because I think it has a chance to be the best Direct ever.
I just, the way I see it, it's like, and I get we're 2 years removed from, Tears of the Kingdom. We got the Breath of the Wild 2 reveal 2 years after Breath of the Wild, but also, like, that game was very much built on top and iterated on Breath of the Wild. This new Zelda game, I think we both agree, is probably going to look, play, and feel very different. Obviously, it's going to be influenced from those games because of how successful they were, but it's not going to be as iterative as Tears of the Kingdom was to Breath of the Wild. It's going to be its own new thing, and I feel like it's going to need a bit more.
I don't know if I agree, actually.
I at least for me, I'd be pretty disappointed if it was that iterative a third time.
Well, I mean, they're certainly not going to do the same world, but I do. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Just like I do think it's going to be like the same open world, the same kind of mechanics, but a new world, a new place to explore. Well, we'll see.
Well, even still, like, creating a brand new map from scratch is going to take a bit more time than just having a teaser trailer on top. And I guess technically the teaser trailer area was underground. It was in a place that was newly modeled. But, like, you get what I mean. It was largely derivative of, Breath of the Wild. This brand new Zelda game, like, it's going to be that brand new assets built from the ground up completely. And I feel like it's going to take a lot more time.
We'll see about that.
I could be wrong, but I don't think we're quite there yet. And obviously, Switch 2 will need Zelda at some point. I don't think it necessarily needs that during year 1 or even year 2, and especially when you have some other Zelda support titles like, Breath of the Wild Enhanced. Maybe we finally get those gosh darned Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD ports. Maybe
those
you
are
know,
coming. Yeah, those are coming.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure there's other other smaller tier Zelda titles in the works as well to tide people over for the main course.
I think we see 3D Zelda. I think that is the cherry on top. That really puts us over. Okay,
I hope you're right.
We are going to be live streaming this direct Wednesday, April 2nd at the ZeldaCast Twitch, twitch.tv/the ZeldaCast. We have ran incredibly long, so we are going to get out of here. So please join us for our live stream. We're going to be live at, my God, it's going to be super early. 6 a.m. Doom time, 7 a.m. Spiteri time. So come and join us. My friends, until then, we're going to get out of here. Of course, we want to encourage you guys. Check out omegametroid.com. We have news, we have guides, we have maps, we have walkthroughs, we have all sorts of stuff there. And you know what? Check out our YouTube page too. Give us a subscription if you want to see our faces as we do these shows. Let us know what you think. Let us know if some of our predictions are outlandish. If you're on board with some of them, join our Discord. Let us know, and you can connect with us over on Blue Sky as well at Spiteri316 at Doominal Cross and at Omega Metroid. And of course, one last thing. If you really want to take your Metroid Love to the next level, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/SPNet. And that will get you a monthly bonus show every single month where the great Metroid area ranking is rolling along. So, my friends, we'll see you next week. We've talked the talk. Now all that's left is to see what actually happens. I'm stoked. And, man, it feels good. It feels exciting. I can't wait. We'll see you then. Twitch.tv/the ZeldaCast. Me, Doom, and Al. Until then, everybody, take care.